Okay. Welcome back once again to another episode of Focus.
Powered by Riverside.
Alright, so you know how it goes. I feel like to myself I wouldn't be doing the story itself any justice if I didn't give you as much information as I possibly could. And given the last two episodes, I feel like this one is definitely warranted. Flies, rats, and offers of hush money. The price of living next to a monster incinerator. George and Mandy are among the residents who refused to sign an NDA, that's a non-disclosure agreement, and can speak about the Runcorn incinerator. We have been inundated with flies, rats, smells, noises. It's just been horrendous, says Mandy Royal, who lives in the closest home to the UK's biggest waste incinerator at Runcorn in Cheshire. The facility generates electricity from burning nearly 1 million tons of household rubbish every year. But much of that waste doesn't come from Miss Royal's local area. Like many incinerators, deliveries come from hundreds of miles away. BBC analysis suggests the burden of the UK's waste is disproportionately falling on deprived areas such as Runcorn, which are 10 times more likely to have an energy from waste incinerator or EFW in their midst than in the wealthiest areas. Many families nearby shared a £1 million settlement after 180 of them launched a legal action over the pollution and disturbances from the Runcorn incinerator, the BBC can reveal. But Miss Royal was one of a handful of people who did not sign the agreement, allowing her to speak out about the life in the shadow of one of the UK's giant waste plants. I'm just stuck in this little corner with a big monster staring at me and throwing what it does over me, she says. The others who took the cash, with about £4,500 per family after legal costs, had to sign a strict non-disclosure agreement or an NDA. Well, I think they're being unfair in what they're paying, and completely unfair in what they're doing, says George Parker, who runs a local garage and also refused to sign the deal. It's £1 million hush fund and a gagging order. That's why they're doing it. They're keeping everybody quiet. The Runcorn Town FC, or Runcorn EFW facility, is massive. I'm looking at a top-down picture of it, and Mandy Royal literally lives a street away. Viridor, which runs the Runcorn plant, said it would not comment on the settlement or the non-disclosure agreement. It said that noise and odor remained within permitted levels, regulated by the Environment Agency, and any complaints were fully investigated with feedback provided to residents. Incinerators put in deprived areas. Energy from waste incinerators have boomed over the past decade as local councils have faced higher charges to bury rubbish in landfill sites. This shift, though, has come at a big cost to the environment, with a BBC investigation showing that these plants now produce as much carbon per unit of energy as if they were burning coal. It also comes at a cost to those who live near them, says Miss Royal and Mr. Parker. They put them in deprived areas so people won't complain because they know the majority of the people are in such a state they don't know how to complain, basically, Mr. Parker says. More waste is incinerated in the most deprived areas in England. Total tons of waste incinerated in each index of multiple deprivation, or the IMD decimal, is between 2022 and 2023. 1 equals most deprived areas and 10 equals the least deprived areas. And it's on a scale of 0 to 30, with the most deprived being practically at 29. The IMD ranks areas of between 1,000 and 3,000 residents between 1 and 10, and based on a number of factors, including household income. The investigations found breaches of air quality controls increased both at Runcorn and across incinerators in England between 2019 and 2023. These controls restrict the levels of gases such as carbon monoxide that can be emitted. The number of these permit breaches The number of these permit breaches has risen from an average of 3.4 in 2019 to 5.5 per incinerator in 2023. Last year, 73% of facilities in England reported transgressions. Runcorn's energy from waste site breached its permit 17 times in the past 5 years. The Runcorn Energy Recovery Facility, or the ERF, operates within a strict environmental permit and is heavily regulated by the Environment Agency, meaning it must comply with all the necessary regulations and permit conditions. Viridor said in a statement, "Should a permit limit be exceeded, a full and thorough investigation into its cause is carried out. Household waste is also being sent hundreds of miles across the country to be burned or even sent abroad," BBC analysis of the UK Council data showed. In one of the worst examples, waste from Derby City Council and Derbyshire Council ended up at 19 different incinerators in 1 year, from Milton Keynes to North Yorkshire. The increased movement of waste by train and lorry is producing even more carbon emissions and worsening local air pollution. A spokesperson for the Derby City Council and Derbyshire County Council said the councils had signed a new contract which will reduce the number to 13, and that reducing waste miles is a key part of our strategy. In another case, County Durham sent 1,300 tons of waste last year to an undisclosed incinerator facility in Cyprus, even though there are incinerators nearby in northwest England. The council said it was standard industry practice to divert waste from landfill through energy from waste facilities, although the rubbish backyard of England. While Runcorn is home to the UK's biggest incinerator, a significant proportion of the town's local rubbish is not burned at the site. Instead, some of the waste from the borough of Halton, where Runcorn is located, and from other Merseyside towns is sent by train about 150 miles across the country to the East Coast to be burned on Teesside. Believe it or not, this whole area along the River Tees has emerged as a UK hotspot for energy from waste. The region is now home to 3 active incinerators, with 3 more in various stages of planning. We have become a dumping ground for everybody else's rubbish by stealth, says an independent councillor in Redcar, Dr. Tristan Leroyd. He says that incinerators in the area are tied into long-term contracts with councils across the country, which he believes will see large amounts of carbon emitted every year for decades to come. There's a potential here for the number of incinerators to be in double figures, he says. For my hometown, which has suffered a massive decline over the year, is just another kick in the face. We're becoming the rubbish backyard of England. Linda Martin lives on the nearest street to the Wilton 11 incinerator in Billingham, Teesside, which burns more than 400,000 tons of rubbish every year. She questioned whether people in the locality are seeing any direct economic benefit from the facility. Honestly, I'd say no comment. It's easy to see that this entire system is completely insane, failing, and probably set up to fail. It's funny that the UK government always makes these increasingly disastrous calls. But regardless, as I always say, Earth is an amazing place. Not just the people, not just the places, but as always, sometimes the absolutely ridiculous things we're doing with it. But it's still an amazing place to live, don't you say? Once again, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Focus. If you like this story, check out other ones. If you want links to the stories itself, check out the show notes. If you want to stick around, however, join the Thoughts and Facts section. You might find it a little more interesting than previous ones. But, as I always say, it is amazing. Take care. But as always, if you are still around, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention. But I'd start off by saying this thoughts and facts section is going to be a little more facts. So I'll just call this, therefore, the facts section. And let's just talk about incineration or incinerators just for a second. And I want to give you a breakdown on, I could say, the UK, or a report done on behalf of DEFRA, which is the Department for Environment and Food and Rural Affairs, done in 2013 by a partner organization or organizations. First up, typically incineration plants can have a combustion temperature or have combustion temperatures that exceed in excess of 850 degrees Celsius. And the waste is converted into carbon dioxide and water. Any non-combustible materials, example metal or glass, remain as a solid, known as bottom ash, which contains a small amount of residual carbon. And obviously, I think the whole practice of, transporting it miles away is ridiculous, but that's a thought, not a fact. Or kind of both. Let's go. Incineration of municipal solid waste, February 2013. The original waste technologies briefs were developed on behalf of DEFRA as part of the Technology Support Program 2004 to 2007, and these briefs subsequently updated by the Firth Resource Management, or the FRM, in 2012. They acknowledge that the support from the Department for Environment and Food and Rural Affairs, DEFRA, the Department for Communities and Local Government, DCLG, and the Environment Agency, EA, the Department of the Energy and Climate Change, DECC, and the contractors acknowledged in the body of the report. In the preparation of this update, the document has been produced on behalf of DEFRA, as I mentioned, to provide assistance to local authorities and the waste management market generally through awareness raising of the key municipal waste management options for the diversion of residual municipal waste from landfills. The document has been developed in good faith by the advisors on behalf of DEFRA, and neither DEFRA nor its advisors shall incur any liability for any action or omission arising out of any reliance being placed on the document by any local authority or organization. Now I had to get that little piece out of the way before, as I suppose, my personal disclaimer, and obviously this. So, meaning, before you quote me and you quote them, understand that it's no one's particular fault in this matter. So, this is a quite in-depth document. I only particularly want to mention the incineration part of it, but I will give you a list of the contents of the document itself. And as always, I will add a link to this document in the show notes if you want to check it out. And contents would be the introduction, how it works, incineration and the waste hierarchy, Industrial Emissions Directive, the IED, Waste Incineration Directive, the WID, the difference between incineration and advanced thermal treatment, incineration technology overview, and it would take us to the third part, markets, outlets, and incineration outputs, recovery from incineration, the track record, the UK experience. I probably should have been listing the numbers in bullet points. So 4.2, if you could keep up. The European experience. Number 5, the contractual and financing issues. 5.1, grants and funding. 5.2, contractual arrangements. 6, planning and permitting issues. 6.1, planning application requirements. 6.2, licensing and permitting. 7, social and perception issues. 7.1, social considerations. 7.2, public perception. 8, cost. 8.1, capital costs. 8.2, the gate fees. And 9, the contribution to national targets. 9.1, recycling. 0.2, landfill directive diversion performance. 0.3, recovery. 0.4, renewables. Number 10 is further reading of sources of information, and then you got the glossary of facts. But what I want to cover for you briefly, as you know, I say, our history is pretty vast and we're making it pretty fast. So in the grand scale of it all, what's a couple of minutes of your time, which I am grateful for. Thank you very much for listening, as always. So I want to cover how it works: the incineration and the waste hierarchy, the Industrial Emissions Directive, the Waste Incineration Directive, the difference between incineration and advanced thermal treatment, and just a brief insight into the incineration technology overview. I mean, yes, there are quite a few topics here that I would honestly love to go over with you, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. I think depending how fast I can get through this, I might check out the social considerations, social perception issues. That is an interesting part of it. I didn't get that far down the document. But as we go. So, beginning at the introduction, just to get the acronyms out of the way so you might be able to keep up or follow later down the line. The residual municipal solid waste, or the MSW, is a waste that is household or household-like. It comprises of household waste collected by local authorities, some commercial and industrial waste, example from other offices, schools, shops, etc. That may be collected by the local authority or commercial company. Legislations limits by implication the amount of mixed MSW that can be sent to a landfill. One of the guiding principles now enshrined in law for European and UK waste management has been the concept of a hierarchy of waste management options, where the most desirable options is not to produce the waste in the first place, waste prevention, and the least desirable option is to dispose of the waste with no recovery of either materials or energy. Between these two extremes, there are a wide variety of waste treatment options that may be used as a part of waste management strategy to recover materials. For example, furniture reuse, glass recycling, or organic waste composting, or generating energy from waste, for example, through incineration or digesting biodegradables, waste to produce usable gases. Newer technology, entrants, or delivering residual MSW treatment can be split into three main categories: mechanical and biological treatment, which would become MET, mechanical heat treatment, this ain't a hospital, which would be MHT, and advanced thermal treatment would be ATT, principally used in gasification and pyrolysis. In addition to these, incineration offers a further option for the treatment of residual MSW and is an already proven and bankable technology in the UK. Throughout this document, the term incineration is used to describe processes that combust waste and recover energy. Sometimes other uses of the term from energy waste or direct combustion to describe incineration. All municipal waste incinerators in the UK recover energy from waste in the form of electricity and or heat generation. And there's a graph box diagram. But obviously you'd have to check out the link. The energy recovery can also be achieved from the different methods of the managing waste, including ATT, production of electricity and or heat by the thermal treatment or decomposition of the waste and the subsequent use of the secondary products, typically the gases that it lets off. So, targets pertain to the biodegradable friction of the MSW. Anaerobic digestion, production of energy from the combustion of the biogases, which is produced from the digestion of biodegradable waste. Landfill production of electricity from the combustion of landfill gases produced as biodegradable waste decomposes as well. And there's a box 1 figure. So the general idea of it is energy recovered from waste can be used in the following ways: generation of power / electricity, generation of heat and power. This is referred to as a combined heat and power, CHP. The energy generation option selected for an incineration facility will depend on the potential for an end users or to utilize the heat and or power available. In most instances, power can be easily distributed and sold via the national grid, and this is by far the most common form of energy recovery. For heat, the consumer needs to be local to the facility, producing the heat, and dedicated distribution system is required. Unless all the available heat can be used by the generating facility, will not always be operating at its optimum efficiency. The use of CHP combines the generation of heat and power, electricity. This helps to increase the overall energy efficiency for a facility compared to generating. Just had a little mix up there. Okay, back on track. This helps to combines the generation of heat and power electricity. This helps to increase the overall energy efficiency of a facility compared to generating power only. In addition, as power and heat demand varies, a CHP combustion of the MSW results in the release of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. Part of the MSW in biomass derived material, example card, paper, timber, which is a source of renewable energy. MSW also contains combustible elements in which are fossil fuel derived materials, examples plastics, and are therefore not a source of renewable energy, which then become practically you burning fossil fuel / coal. Fuel-based carbon dioxide and contributes significantly towards the greenhouse effects and hence global warming. In the context of substantial or sustainable energy generation, carbon emitted from the biodegradable waste is classed as short cycle carbon, i.e. the amount given off when the combustion equates to that absorbed during its lifetime. The more efficient the energy generation process, example the CHP, the lower the carbon emissions are per unit of energy produced and the greater the energy and carbon benefits. Hence, when considering energy recovery, carbon emissions need to be considered in the terms of composition of the residual waste stream, the type of energy produced, heat and or power, and the overall generating efficiency of the facility. The growing importance of climate change means that the carbon footprint of waste management needs to be fully considered in selecting technologies. The purpose of this document is to provide an overview of incineration with the energy recovery. This will include information on technologies, UK and European experiences, regulatory issues, and public perception and social issues and outputs. There are a wide variety of alternative waste management options and strategies available for dealing with MSW to limit the residual amount left for disposal to the landfills. But this guide is designed to be read in conjunction with other waste management technology briefs in this series. Other relevant sources of information are identified throughout the document. So, how it works. Incineration and the waste hierarchy. The Revised Waste Framework Directive, or the RWFD, sets out the waste hierarchy, incorporating the broad options for waste management, with energy recovery from waste being a preferred option to landfill disposal. However, it recognizes that prior to the energy recovery, waste prevention, preparation for reuse, and recycling are preferable where appropriate. European experiences illustrate that the recovery of energy from residual waste, or including by incineration, is compatible with high recycling rates. Therefore, both incineration and advanced thermal treatment, or ATT, can be part of the overall waste management strategy, but not at the expense of waste reduction or recycling. The key to striking the right balance lies in early consultation between stakeholders when local waste strategies are being developed, and in suitability, flexible facilities, and contracts, i.e. that do not lock in an unreasonably high proportion of waste. Should waste prevention, reuse, and recycling performance sustainably increase, in addition, the commercial deliverability of a facility needs to be considered when determining capacities required and contract periods. In mainland Europe, Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Germany, and the Netherlands, Sweden, and Switzerland divert the most waste from landfill, while all being almost at the top of their recycling and composting performance. Incineration of waste is relied on for the disposal of the remaining residual waste in all of these countries. DEFRA has issued guidance on application of the waste hierarchy to different components of materials commonly arising in the municipal waste system. 2.2. Industrial Emissions Directive, the IED, and the Waste Incineration Directive, the WID. In the UK, all waste incineration plants must comply with the Waste Incineration Directive, or the WID3. Apology. Coffee break. Much better. The WID3 2000. This directive sets the most stringent emissions controls for any thermal process regulated in the EU. The requirements of the directive have been translated into the UK through the Waste Incineration, England and Wales Regulations 2002. The Industrial Emissions Directive, the IED5, is a recast of the WID alongside 6 other European directives, which will be transposed into English legislation no later than the 6th of January 2013. So this has all been done already. The objectives of the IED are to reduce the emissions into air, soil, water, and land, and to prevent the generation of waste, in order to achieve a high level of protection to the environment taken as a whole. Operators combusting waste would need to comply with an Annex 6 of the IED. The enforcement of the IED is undertaken by the Environment Agency through the Environmental Permitting Regime, which provides the mechanisms by which all major industrial processes are permitted and regulated. With respect to the environmental performance, the key requirements in the IED for the operation and incineration of a plant are a minimum combustion temperatures and a residence time of the resulting combustion products. For MSW, this is a minimum requirement of 850 degrees Celsius for 2 seconds. Specific emissions limits for the release to the atmosphere of the following: sulfur dioxide or SO2, nitrogen oxide and nitrogen dioxide, NO and NO2, hydrogen chloride and hydrogen fluoride, HCI and HF, gaseous and vaporous organic substances expressed as total organic carbon or TOC, carbon monoxide, obviously CO, dust, heavy metals, and dioxins, and furans. A requirement that the resulting bottom ashes and slag produced as a total organic carbon content of less than 3%. The combustion conditions are required to ensure complete burnout of the waste is achieved. Emission limits to atmosphere are set to minimize any environmental and health impacts. The carbon content in the ash represents minimization of the combustible material and destruction of the waste. Further information on the environmental compliance for the incineration plant can be obtained from the Integrated Pollution Prevention and Control Reference Document on the best available techniques for waste incineration, published by the European Commission in August 2006. This document can be accessed via the web link of this article, which I'm going to give you a link to on the show. So, 2.3. Difference between incineration and advanced thermal treatment. Both incineration or combustion and advanced thermal treatment (ATT) technologies offer the option of treating residual waste and recovering energy. These technologies are different in how the waste is processed and the energy liberated for recovery. Example, combustion directly releases the energy in the waste, whereas pyrolysis and gasification thermally treat the waste to generate secondary products, gas, liquid, and or solids, from which energy can be generated. The main technical differences between incineration and ATT are presented below. In addition of figure 1, it shows how the pyrolysis and the gasification process differs from incineration or direct combustion in terms of the levels of air present. Established thermal treatments. Incineration. Incineration usually involves the combustion of unprepared, raw or residual MSW. To allow the combustion to take place, a sufficient quantity of oxygen is required to fully oxidize the fuel or the waste. Typically, incineration plants' combustion temperatures are in excess of 850 degrees, and the waste is converted into carbon dioxide and water. Any non-combustible materials, examples metal or glass, remain as a solid, known as bottom ash, which contains a small amount of residual carbon. Incineration with the energy recovery is a well-established technique for municipal waste treatment, as discussed in section 4, and the processes and the process stages are described in more detail in section 2.4. Advanced thermal treatment or pyrolysis. In contrast to combustion, pyrolysis is the thermal degradation of a substance in the absence of oxygen. This process requires an external heat source to maintain the temperature required. Typically, lower temperatures between 300 degrees Celsius or ranging to 850 degrees Celsius are used during pyrolysis of materials such as MSWs. Raw municipal waste is usually not appropriated for pyrolysis and typically would not require some mechanical preparation and separation of glass, metals and inert materials such as rubble prior to processing the remaining waste. In general, pyrolysis processes tend to prefer consistent feedstocks, and there is a very limited track record of commercial scale pyrolysis plant accepting municipal derived waste in the world. The products produced from pyrolysis materials are a solid residue and a synthesis gas or syngas. The solid residue, sometimes described as a char, is a combination of non-combustible materials and carbon. The syngas is a mixture of gases, combustibles, constituents, and include carbon monoxide, hydrogen, methane, and a broad range of other volatile organic compounds. A proportion of these can be condensed to produce oils, waxes, and tars. The syngases typically has a net calorific value, or NCV, of between 10 and 20 millijoules. That's energy, just in case you didn't know. Food-wise for your body, not even electricity. The syngas, is, if required, the condensable fraction can be collected by cooling the syngas, potentially for use as a liquid fuel. One key issue for the use of syngas in energy recovery at an ATT facility are the problems related to tarring. The deposition of tars can cause blockages and other operational challenges and has been associated with plant failures and inefficiencies at a number of pilot and commercial scale facilities. Tarring issues may be overcome by higher temperatures, secondary processes, and, as referred to below, in the advanced thermal treatment or gasification. Gasification can be considered a process between pyrolysis and combustion, in that it involves the partial oxidization of a substance. This means that the oxygen is added, but the amounts are not sufficient to allow the fuel to completely oxidize and fuel the combustion to occur. The temperatures employed are typically above 650 degrees Celsius. The process is largely exothermic, heat producing. But some heat may be required to initialize and sustain the gasification process. Simply put, that's just starting a fire, just so you know. Raw municipal waste is usually not appropriate for gasification and typically would require some mechanical preparation and separation of glass, metals, and inerts such as rubble prior to processing remaining waste. The main product is a syngas, which contains carbon monoxide, hydrogen, and methane. Typically, the gas generated or the gasification will have a net calorific value of NCV between 4 to 10 millijoules NM3. For reference, the calorific value of syngas from pyrolysis and gasification is far lower than the natural gas, which has a NCV of around 38 millijoules NM squared. That's a 3. One key issue of the use of the syngas is energy recovery at ATT facilities that are where there are problems of tarring related to the deposition or depositing of tars. Can cause blockages and operational challenges just like in the other processes, and has been associated with plant failures and inefficiencies at a number of the same pilot and commercial scale facilities. The application of higher temperature secondary processing phase may be used to crack the tars and clean up the syngas prior to application in energy recovery systems. This process is sometimes referred to as a gas cleanup or polishing, and could enable higher efficiency energy recovery than applicable through the waste thermal treatment processes. It should be noted, however, that the most commercial gasification facilities processing MSW derived feedstocks utilizing a secondary combustion chamber to burn the syngas and recover the energy via a steam circuit. And whilst this is not incineration, the differences between the processes in practical and efficient terms are much more modest. The other main product by the gasification is a solid residue of non-combustible materials, ash, which contains a relatively low level of carbon. Some plasma gasification technologies are examples of where a high temperature or electric arc method is applied to potentially at various stages of the gasification process in different configurations, but the plasma or every other high temperature thermal processing can be applied to fuse the ash from the process into an inert, vitreous or viscous or glassy residue, and can crack the tars to generate a relatively clean syngas. There are several initiatives seeking to achieve the high energy recovery efficiencies using gas engines and hydrogen fuel cells linked to gasifiers. And there's a small diagram depicting the clean air process of breaking up the tars or what's deposited from these processes. But I'll leave you to actually go through it rather than me trying to explain it to you. I guarantee you'll get it if you actually look at it. 2.4 Incineration Technologies Overview. We're almost to the end. The actual plant design and configuration of incineration plants will differ considerably between technology providers. However, an incinerator with energy recovery will comprise the following key elements: waste reception and handling, combustion chamber, energy recovery plant, and emissions cleanup for combustion gases, which was what the diagram depicted. Waste reception and handling. The incineration of MSW can be focused on either combustion of the raw residual waste, the waste left over after recycling, reused, and compositing have taken place, or pre-treated feed, For example, a refuse-derived fuel, or refuse-derived fuel, or RDF. The plant configuration will change according to the feedstock. Typically, the application of incineration in the UK is to process untreated residual MSW. The waste is normally delivered via a waste collection vehicle and tipped into a bunker where it is mixed. The mixing is required to blend the waste to ensure that the energy input or the calorific value of the waste feed to the combustion chamber is as consistent as possible. Box 2. The fuel from mixed waste processing options. And this is another breakdown of the process itself. The various terms are in use to describe solid fuel arising from the MBT and the MHT processes. In the UK, the most common being solid recovered fuel and refuse-derived fuel. A CEN Technical Committee, TC 343, has developed standards on the fuels prepared from wastes, where the suite of standards uses the terminology solid recovered fuel, SRF, and classify the SRF by a number of characteristics, including by thermal value, chlorine and content, and mercury content. The use of refuse-derived fuel, the RDF, really not a good reference. Either way, as a term has no strict definition and could be generated from a wide variety of waste treatment processes. A recent development in the UK is the separation between the procurement of waste treatment processes that give the rise to a fuel output and the procurement of the market for the utilization of the fuel generated. In these circumstances, a specification of RDF and SRF would be required, or WRAP, Waste-Derived Fuel WF Classification Scheme, or the WF, launched in November 2012, provides clear classification of the WDF properties. Within this brief, refuse-derived fuel will be used as a term to recover the varied fuel products processed by MSW. Like I said, we're almost to the end. Raw MSW typically has an energy content of, as I said before, 8 to 11 megajoules or kilograms. Megajoules, that's energy by the way still. Whereas RDF can have an energy content of 12 to 17 megajoules. Typically, where raw MSW is processed into a RDF, the increase in the energy content of the RDF is achieved due to the drying of the waste, removal of water, and the removal of recyclables, glass and metal, and the inert materials, stones and rubber, which do not contribute to the energy content of the waste. Therefore, the remaining waste going to the RDF mainly comprises of wastes with significant energy content, such as the main culprit of the carbon monoxide poisoning. The reason why incinerators are replacing coal as the main polluters is because, as it is about to mention, therefore, the remaining waste going into RDF mainly comprises of waste with, I'll say it again, significant energy content. And the very first one on that list is plastics, dried biodegradable materials, textiles, etc., etc. RDF produced from the source separated waste and purely commercial waste will usually have a greater calorific value than the RDF from MSW, in the range of 18 to 23 megajoules. Bear in mind, the higher the wattage on this means the more it is polluting. Apologies for that. There are 4 combustion technologies that can be employed to burn MSW or RDF. A brief overview of the main combustion technologies is presented over in the overleaf table. one of the combustion technologies presented can be designed to meet the technical requirements of the IED or the WID. Example, a minimum temperature of 850 degrees and a 2-second residence time for processing the MSW.
Powered by Riverside.
And there is a graph and a chart and a scale talking about the fixed rates. But I think I have taken up quite a bit of your time, so before I drag it on any longer, I'm going to say thank you once again for sticking around for the facts. And I'm going to keep it brief, I promise. And welcome to the short thought. In the grand scale of all of this madness, as you know, before I say all of that, like I said, I felt from the very beginning I wouldn't or wasn't doing this justice by not mentioning or going into detail. And I had to. From the very beginning to the end, it always feels as a researcher you're falling down a rabbit hole with many different iterations of a story, and to eventually come across what you would call some semblance of hard facts. Either way, none of it can truly be 100% guaranteed, as I said, or as the disclaimer from the very beginning of the municipal said or disclosed, that no one could be held liable. But I beg to differ. These are simply, apologies for the word, stupid policies. To have rubbish being transported from one area where you already have what they choose to dub a EFW, which is energy from waste incinerators, to another one located any distance away. I'm not going to say 150 miles, which is just, as I said before, an insane distance to travel. For you to take local residents' rubbish and burn it elsewhere rather than burning it in a facility, literally as they described, in their backyard. Well, for the resident or the person affected in the very first story, like I said, flies, rats, and hush money. Could you believe it? And an NDA, it is a lot. But you know, there's a saying. It says, all it takes for evil to prevail is for a good man to do nothing. If every single one of the residents in that area decided to accept the money and sign that non-disclosure agreement, we would have never known of how polluting or the extent of the damage. Either way, like I said, Earth is an amazing place. There's a lot going on. And sometimes we just need to take a moment to focus. Thanks for tuning in once again. I appreciate every moment of your time, and as I always say, carpe diem. Seize the day. Let no one destroy your zen. Let no one disturb your peace. And if you're not having a good day, it's not too late to make it so. Take care.